Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
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 Okay, I'll give everyone a couple more minutes and then we'll get going. Lee, I can't see John Cook as yet. I wonder if he's
No, I can't see him either, Joe.
having any issues getting in. Okay, would you be able to give him a call, Lee?
Yeah, I
On his
will.
phone, just help him get in. Okay, thank you. Okay, I think people are going to keep drifting in, but I'm going to make a start because we haven't got a huge amount of time. So, good morning, everybody. My name's Joe Broomfield from Allerdale Borough Council. I'm our Tourism Development Manager. It's great to see so many of you here today. Before I hand over, I'll just give you a quick idea of how these briefings have worked in the past and they're going to work today. So this is our first joint briefing with Copeland, which is fantastic. Please bear with us. We've never had this many people at one of these briefings before. And in fact, yesterday we realised we had to upgrade our Zoom corporate account because we've never had more than 100 people on before. But thank you all for coming this morning. So we've been having these breakfast briefings for about 2 to 3 years now in Allerdale. Pre-COVID, you would have all got a cup of coffee and a bacon sandwich and been able to do some networking, which I know seems a long time ago, but I'm sure we will get back there eventually. We've got some great speakers today, some very popular topics. At the end, we have a joint Q&A session. So we won't take questions after each speaker, but we will do at the end. So what I ask is that please can you put any questions down on the chat function during the speakers, and then we will try and get through as many as we can at the end. It may be that we can't get through all of them. I will try and keep things to an hour and a half. But if there's anything there that we can get back to you with offline, then we will do that. So we've got Allerdale speakers in terms of the business support funding and the planning items, but we do have 2 Copeland officers available for the Q&A session. So if there are any specific Copeland queries, then they will be able to step in. Like I said, I will try and keep things to an hour and a half if possible. It's going to be difficult with over 100 people, but like I say, we'll get back to you offline. Lee, have we got any sign of John yet?
Councillor Cook's just having difficulties. He's trying to get in as we speak.
Okay. Well, what I'll do then, Councillor Morgan, if that's okay, I will hand over to you to do a welcome from Copeland, and hopefully John will join us after that. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Good morning and thanks for attending this first of many such tourism meetings. I'm really excited about our new collaboration with Allerdale, promoting the hospitality industry together as the Lake District Coast. COVID still haunts the hospitality industry, and it probably will inhibit our recovery for a while. But now is the time to begin to work together and develop an integrated tourism trade in West Cumbria, stronger and better than BC before COVID. I'd like to thank our MPs, Trudy Harrison and Mark Jenkins, for their support and attendance today. Today, we would like to share with you some of the many ideas we're exploring, but bear with us, it is very early days. You'll hear more about a directory of our hospitality sources, not only tourist attractions, but also food service venues and accommodation offerings, to be available digitally as well as in printed format. Another target is Allerdale and Copeland collaboration on special events like specialist food or crafts themed market days featuring international foods or local crafts, or history lecture events attracting history buffs from around the UK as they do in Bath. We're developing a concierge function, perhaps based in the Beacon as well as online, to provide information about offerings, make reservations, sell tickets, maybe having staff even dressed in period costume and act as characters as they do in Williamsburg in the States. We hope to increase advertising in the American market, emphasizing John Paul Jones, George Washington's grandmother buried in Whitehaven, the birth of modern steel production in Workington, and the long history of ocean liners in Maryport. Linked to the Titanic. Personally, I like the idea of tying the Lake District coast to the Hadrian's Wall, perhaps a biking tour to Cumbria one day, beginning in Ravenglass at the Roman Bath, through Maryport and up to Carlisle and the Wall. My American son has even suggested guided tours of Workington and Whitehaven after dark, like in Edinburgh. We have so much to offer, but we must shed light on it all, work together, promoting each other rather than competing against each other. It has been a tough year indeed. Hospitality economic activity is way off, but some tourist entrepreneurs have coped and prospered as much as they can, offering takeaway dining delivery to your door, for example. We have much needing to be done before the lockdown is lifted. Getting ready to offer staycation vacations, for example, for visitors down south. Setting up accommodation for RV and mobile holiday homes, perhaps. Promoting our culture and heritage. Building up interest and demand for would-be visitors in our Lake District coast as they long for freedom again. And educating young green-oriented visitors about our aspirations for low and no carbon energy for the Lake District coast, including hydrogen-powered vehicles, hydrogen produced as a byproduct from small-scale nuclear plants and offshore wind, fusion energy technology, and solar energy applications at the consumer level. Preparation for digital and social media communications rather than just brochures hidden in a motorway service center. A new day is dawning with much potential, but we must collaborate, take advantage of new things, and be positive and constructive. Thanks again for attending, and please communicate your ideas to Councillor Cook or myself or our tourism officers. Joe, back to you.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Some great ideas there, and I know that myself and Katie are going to talk about some areas of collaboration between Copeland and Allerdale as we move through the presentations. Lee, do we have Councillor Cook? Has he managed to join us yet?
Just working on it now, Joe. Won't be long.
Okay, no problem.
I think he's here now.
John, Councillor Cook, are you there? I think what we'll do, Alex, yes. I can see you're there. Oh, John, are you there?
Good morning, I'm here. I do apologise.
Okay,
I was just going to say how great technology was and all that kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, I started getting flustered and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sweating like a... But I do apologise, everybody, I'm here.
But all the same.
Yeah.
Would you like to say a few words now, John, or would you prefer us to come back to you in 10 minutes' time?
Yeah, a couple of deep breaths. I do apologise again, as I say. Welcome everybody to the second meeting of Allerdale Tourist Breakfast Briefing, and the first collaborative meeting with Copeland. We've had a couple of meetings previous, and it became quite clear to me that we needed to join forces somehow. We've got a lot in common, and we just need to start working together. Now, the purpose of these meetings is being able to reach out to everybody out there in the tourism sector, because I know that we're all in uncharted waters at the minute, and I believe that we need to, as councils, we need to be able to reach out and to be able to give information out to you all out there on the tourism sector. But also we need, it's a two-way track. We need to have input from all of you, so we know how to put our strategy together at the councils. So hopefully we've got some interesting speakers for you today, but we would like input of you to know who you would like to listen to and who you would like information of. I know we haven't got a lot of time this morning. We obviously can't cover every kind of information that you need, but you know, hopefully this is just the start of something for the future. So without more of ado, I'll pass you over to Stephen from Copeland. Is that all right?
No, sorry, you've missed Stephen. Sorry, John.
Oh, right. Well, there you go. That's life. That's life. So I'll pass you on back to Joe.
Brilliant. Thank you, Councillor Cook.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we'll talk a bit more about what we're going to do collaboratively later. For those that have joined us slightly late, these briefings are about sharing ideas, really. So I will say all of the presentations will be available on the Visit Allerdale website. We'll put a link on the Copeland website as well after. And there will be a form on there in terms of feedback and any topics that you would like to see at future briefings. So I'm going to pass you over now to our policy manager, Alex. Alex is one of the team that have been leading on the business support funding. And as you will see, things have got quite complex, but I'm sure Alex will be able to guide us all through the various schemes that businesses can apply for at the moment. So Alex, over to you, and Lee, if we can have the first presentation, please.
Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you can see a flow chart in front of you at the moment. As Joe said, my name is Alex Fitzgerald. I'm policy manager at Allerdale Borough Council, and I am going to try and give you an overview of the government funded business grants that are currently available to support businesses affected by the ongoing COVID-19 restrictions. So these are the ones that apply from the sort of November period last year onwards. My first point, I should say I'm presenting both for Allerdale and Copeland. The slide I'm using is Allerdale Borough Council's flowchart, but Copeland also have an excellent flowchart on their website. It's very similar. And the aim of these is to really just try and help you navigate your way through what's available. As I said, my first point was going to be, it's quite a complicated system now. We have got numerous grants covering different restriction periods and for different business sectors. So we do appreciate how confusing it is for all of you as businesses. It's also quite complex for us to administer as well, with lots of different sets of guidance. So please do bear with us. We are trying to do our best for you, and we are trying to make things as uncomplicated as we can. So as I said, the aim of this flowchart is to really try and help you navigate your way through. A key point I would make, though, is that please do visit either Allerdale Borough Council's or Copeland Borough Council's website and check the guidance and check the process in terms of how you access all of these grants. It's quite important, particularly when you come to the ones where we have some discretion, because there are a few differences and variations in terms of those schemes across the different councils. Just a couple of general points that apply to all of these grants. For all of the grants, you need to demonstrate as businesses that you've been trading the day before restrictions came into force. And as we've gone from national lockdown to tier 2 to tier 4 and then back to national lockdown again, each of those is technically a different restriction period. So you may find that you're asked just to confirm that you have been trading at various points along that way. It's also important that you apply to the local authority where your business is based. Obviously, if you have maybe 2 premises, one in Allerdale and one in Copeland, you might be eligible to claim for both of those. So I thought I would just work through the flowchart just to help you understand a little bit more about the schemes. So if we start at the sort of top left, I mean, that is a key question really, because that does help you determine eligibility for the different schemes. So if your business has been forced to close under national or local tier restrictions since November, and then if your business has a rateable value, so if you operate out of premises and you pay business rates, or you have a rateable value for those premises, then you flow down the left-hand side of the flow chart there, and you should end up looking at schemes like the local restriction support grant brackets closed. So that's for businesses that are ratepayers and that they have been required to close, mandated to close under local and national restrictions. If you're also in the retail, hospitality and leisure sector, you may now also be eligible for that one-off top-up payment, which is technically called the closed business lockdown payment. So that's aimed at non-essential retail, leisure, personal care, sports facilities, hospitality businesses. And that's the one that applies to this current national lockdown that we're in. If you run a pub and it's what is termed a wet-led pub, you may also be eligible for that Christmas support payment. Unlike the other schemes that are all at the moment running and don't have a closing date, that one does. That one has a closing date that's now been extended to the 28th of February. So it's important that you apply if you haven't already. And again, check our websites and guidance for guidance and forms. We do think across both Allerdale and Copeland that we have paid out all the businesses we would expect to under that scheme. But if we've missed anyone, or if you think you haven't got something that you think you might be eligible for, then please do check the guidance and please do apply, and be aware you need to get that application in before 28th of Feb. So as I said, the other schemes currently have no closing dates, so they are all still open to access. If your business, just running slightly back up and along the middle of it, if your business is in the hospitality, accommodation or leisure sectors, then you may also be eligible for that thing towards the right hand side on the bottom called the local restriction support grant brackets open. So that is the scheme that covered the period we were in tier 2, which was the 2nd to the 30th of December. And was for businesses, aimed at businesses in the hospitality, leisure and accommodation sectors. So businesses that were open under those restrictions, but it's understood were severely impacted by those ongoing restrictions. We had a little discretion on this scheme, but government did want us to target it at those business sectors, and they funded us accordingly for that. So there is a little bit of variation, I think, between Allerdale and Copeland schemes. So again, please check websites and check our guidance, and that'll clearly tell us which businesses are eligible, and also how to access those grants. Just running back up really to the top left of that flow chart in terms of has your business been forced to close? If you answer yes, but you haven't got a rateable value, or if the answer is no, but your business has been severely impacted, then if you run down the right hand side of the flow chart, you will get to the thing called the additional restrictions grant. So that's a discretionary grant fund given to local authorities, and the encouragement for government is to use it to help businesses not legally forced to close, but severely impacted by restrictions, again, such as businesses that maybe supply the retail, hospitality and leisure sectors, or businesses outside of the business rate system, which have also been mandated to close. So both Allerdale and Copeland currently have ARG schemes open to cover the period from 30 December onwards. But as a discretionary scheme, there are some differences in how the schemes operate. So please, again, visit our websites, check the guidance and the process in terms of how to access the grants. I should say we are doing what we can, where we can, to make this more simple for businesses, so that where we can now maybe automate payments or do some sort of fast track payments. So where you've maybe already had the local restricted support grant closed, and we know that you would be eligible for the one-off additional payment, we are trying to automate those when we can. And again, our websites will tell you exactly where we're able to do that and where you do have to make a separate application. So please do check just to make sure you understand how those different processes are operating. I thought I'd maybe just run through a couple of worked examples just to really help you, clarify things. although I appreciate everybody's business situation will be slightly different. But just a couple of simple examples. So if you run a hotel, which is business rated and has been required to close under national restrictions in November and then tier 4 on current national restrictions, but was open in that December tier 2 period, then you should be looking at your eligibility for LRSG closed, LRSG open, and then the one-off closed business lockdown payment, sorry. If you run a shop that's classed as non-essential retail, and it's business rated and you've been required to close under national restrictions in November and tier 4 and current restrictions, then you should be eligible for LRSG closed and the one-off lockdown support payment. If, for example, you run a bed and breakfast that's not business rated, but has been required to close under national restrictions, then you are probably looking at applying into the ARG and possibly the LRSG open as well. And then just a final one, if you are a supply chain business whose customers are businesses in the hospitality sector, then you won't have been mandated to close under any restrictions since November, but your business might have been significantly impacted by your customers being closed. So again, you would follow along towards the right hand side of that flowchart, make your way down, and you should be looking at applying for the ARG. As I said, we are doing what we can to make this less difficult for you to navigate, and we do both think we have some good information on our website, so please do check. And as I said, there's a similar flowchart on Copeland's which helps you navigate as well. And we are trying to do our best where we can stop you having to repeatedly apply for things, where we're allowed to do that. We are trying to do that for you. But again, just check the websites, check what you might be eligible for, read the guidance and apply for what you think you might be eligible for, or check the process for how you access that grant. Remember, you can access all of them at the moment, but the Christmas support payment for wet lab pubs is the one that will close on the 28th of February. So that was what I was going to say for now. I hope that helps a little bit. We do appreciate, as I said, it is quite complicated, and as I said, we are trying to make it less so for you. Thank you. Back to you, Joe.
Brilliant. Thank you, Alex. I hope everyone found that useful. As Alex says, it is a confusing situation with all of the different lockdown periods and therefore different grant schemes that are available. I think there's a few fundamentals there in that if you are a business rated property that has been forced to close and you pay your business rates by direct debit, then essentially, Alex, if I understand this right, then they will be paid automatically.
You do have to make an application. You have to get onto the train, as it were. So if you have not made an application for the November period for the LRSG closed, if you are a business that pays business rates, has been mandated to close, you do need to apply into that LRSG closed for the November period. Once you're there, we are trying to automate or simplify the system as much as possible, so people don't have to keep reapplying for all the ones that flow on from that.
Okay, that's great. I mean, one thing I should point out I found confusing, when Alex is talking about closed or open, he's not talking about the grant schemes being closed or open. He's talking about the businesses being closed or open. So Lee, if we could just have my presentation now, I'm going to quickly just talk a bit more about the grant funding before I move on. I don't expect everyone to look at the detail here, but just to say that Allerdale has now paid out over £50 million worth of business support funding. All of the different schemes there, and I think there's like 9 or 10, most of those are still open, and I just think Alex, the team, deserve a lot of credit for working through what has been a very complicated situation, and please bear with us. I've been asked to say please check your spam and junk email folders for grants from Allerdale and Copeland, because sometimes they go in there. If there are any queries, then please, as Alex said, just check our websites. There are contact emails on there. Okay, thank you, Alex. And now I'm just going to talk a bit more about moving on from this and the recovery period, really. So Lee, if we can have the next slide, please. Thank you. One of the things that Allerdale are doing, and Katie will follow on from me in terms of specific Copeland projects, is a business directory. Now, I know Ellie's on the call. Ellie Jones, our business engagement officer, is leading on this. But this will be hosted, well, in fact, it is already being hosted on the Visit Allerdale website. So this is a basic free business directory for all Allerdale businesses. Now, plans are that we will link this to Copeland as well. So Copeland businesses will be on there and vice versa on the two websites. So what I would ask, if you haven't already, is please just register your business on our business directory. It's completely free. It's aimed at visitors in a lot of respects. There's accommodation on there, there's attractions, there's pubs, but then it's equally as useful for local residents as well. So this is something that we're kind of launching relatively recently, but we hope will continue to grow. We've seen during the pandemic that more and more people are looking online to book, to buy. So we thought this is something that we'd really like to do. We've already got quite a few businesses signed up, but we would like more. Okay, Lee, thank you. What else have we been doing at Allerdale? Now, I know Katie is also going to talk about cycling development, and this is one of the key areas for collaboration that we're looking at with Copeland, and I think there's huge potential for our area. Now, I'm pleased to say that this is one of the projects that I'm looking after. We are nearly there with the Allerdale to Silloth path. We will be opening up, hopefully, within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Now, obviously, it's only going to be for locals to be able to use this, given the current restrictions. But it's a fantastic place to cycle. I went myself and did a site inspection a couple of weeks ago and took the bike, and it is really a beautiful place to cycle. Hadrian's Cycleway, Route 72, runs all the way from, I think it's Ravenglass, all the way across along the Hadrian's Wall to the east coast, and cycling tourism development is something we're looking at. There's a number of things, cycling festivals, and again, I know Katie's going to talk about more about that in a second. Okay, thanks, Lee. Allerdale Business Forums. I mentioned at the last briefing that we are trying to help establish business forums across Allerdale. We've got well-established forums in Cockermouth, Keswick with Keswick Tourism Association. Maryport now has a business forum, and we have set up, well, are helping to set up forums for the Wigton area, the Workington area, and the North Allerdale area. Now, we would like these to be business-led. We had the first meeting of the North Allerdale one a few weeks ago, and we've got a second one in the diary. These are local business forums, kind of for local issues. It's wider than just tourism. It's all businesses, and I would encourage you, if you're not already, to get involved in the forums in your local area. It really gives these areas a voice and allows us to communicate with them on a number of projects and initiatives. So I know we've got some people from the North Allerdale Forum on the call today, and it's great to see them getting involved. Thanks, Lee. In terms of recovery marketing and recovery promotion, Allerdale and Copeland have got on board with this Cumbria tourism campaign, The Perfect Place To. I know Jill Hay is going to talk about this later, and Katie's going to mention it as well. But this is, so we're all kind of trying to feed into that broader campaign. It's primarily a digital campaign that can be kind of turned up and turned down due to given the current situation around restrictions. But I think we'll be kind of turning it up again within the next few weeks, which is great. Very much focusing on our area as a place to go outside, to make the most of our fantastic open spaces, the health benefits, and everything around that. It really works well in terms of our less popular areas, traditionally popular areas in terms of visitors, and it's something that we're pleased to be involved with. So Lee, I think I've got one more example of the type of branding, the type of images that we're going to be putting out there in the months to come. Thanks, Lee. If we can move on. Linked to that, we have developed a number of socially distanced kind of post-COVID itineraries for our area. So these are all on the Visit Allerdale website. And again, if your business isn't linked to Visit Allerdale, if you're an Allerdale business, I would recommend that you do. So we have a number of itineraries, as I say, looking at weekends, kind of family fun days out, and then our attack brands of the National Park, the Solway Coast and Hadrian's Wall. So if you haven't had a look yet, please go and have a look at the Visit Allerdale website and direct your customers there. There's a lot of information about travel, things to do. It's a great introduction to the area. Thanks, Lee. Again, on the theme of marketing, this is something that we're doing. The Welcome to Cumbria in the Lake District Visitor Guide is something that goes into hotel rooms across Cumbria. We have here a number of first person kind of itineraries. So these are people that have been to Allerdale and they've set out their perfect day. And I think it's really nice to hear about how individuals experience an area. So this goes into a lot of Cumbrian hotels. I think it's going to be published in around April. And it's around that attract and disperse policy of getting people out and about to all parts of Allerdale and Copeland, really. Thanks, Lee. Okay, a few more things that I need to cover and make people aware of. Residents Week is something that we've been planning now for a while. We've already got a number of Allerdale businesses signed up to this, and shortly Copeland and the rest of Cumbrian businesses will be able to sign up. It's the idea of it will be, once you're a participating business, then you will any resident of Cumbria, sorry, I should say, will be able to spend a minimum spend at a participating business a given week. We haven't decided when the given week will be as yet, because it will be dependent on government restrictions, but they will be then entered into what is essentially a prize draw. So there's no cost for businesses to sign up. All you have to do is provide some kind of prize that will be offered in the prize draw. And then there will be a huge amount of marketing and promotion that we can do on the back of this. Like I say, we haven't set a date as yet, and Katie and I will circulate sign-up forms for businesses within the next few weeks. Just a quick word on festivals and events. I know our events manager Anna's on the call today, and I do really feel for event planners at the moment. It's really difficult to plan with any certainty given the current situation. All I will say is that planning for our Taste Cumbria Food Festival is underway, and we very much hope to be able to hold that as normal at the end of September. And I mentioned cycling collaboration. We're looking to have some kind of cycling festival this summer or this autumn to promote the area as a cycling destination. Again, that's dependent on government restrictions. Dedicated Allerdale business website is something that Ellie is working on. So it will be a website purely for Allerdale businesses, and it will bring together everything in a really accessible place in terms of planning, building control, environmental health, funding, everything that a business in Allerdale hopefully would need will be going onto that website. So please look out for that. It's not quite ready yet, but will be soon. If you haven't already, please sign up to our weekly business e-newsletter. This goes out every Monday and now has over 1,700 subscribers. It will just keep you up to date with anything that's going on at Allerdale in the wider sector. And I know Ellie's keen that if you could there's a business survey that will be going out in the next edition that she's keen for people to fill in. Similarly, we have an Allerdale business Facebook group. This is a closed group. So once you register to go in the group, you will be approved, hopefully. And then this is an opportunity for networking, given the current situation, and to ask any questions of us in a kind of more informal way. And I mentioned before, perfect day competition. The itineraries we've used in our marketing this year, that competition was, I think, hugely successful. We have a video to launch. We haven't launched it yet because of COVID restrictions, but that will be launched when restrictions are next eased. And then we will be running the competition again. We had a number of sponsors last time. If you would like to get involved and come in as a sponsor, then please let me know. Okay, Lee, I think final slide for me. Just 2 words I'm going to leave you with, and we're going to touch on this later with our planning manager's presentation. It's something that myself and the rest of our team are becoming increasingly aware of and involved with. No doubt Katie and Jill will touch on this, but Allerdale and Copeland are both members of a number of visitor management groups. I think we're all aware of the increasing pressure on our area in terms of particular places at particular times. And we are working with the National Park, with Cumbria Highways, with a range of other partners to more effectively manage our visitors. I think it will be an increasingly important role for many of us on the call as in the next few years, certainly this summer, which is shaping up to be particularly busy in terms of certain types of tourism, camper vans and things like that. But we'll come back to that later. But that's me, Lee. I'm going to pass over to Katie now. We'll do a quick whiz through, a similar whiz through for Copeland. I hope you found that useful. And yeah, thank you, Katie. Over to you.
Thank you, Joe. Lee, do we have my presentation? There we go. Thank you. If you could go on to the first slide, please. Top 10 priorities. We are a 3-year tourism sector development programme, and there are so many opportunities that we have. One of which, and I'm sure Jill will talk about this as well, we have a new target audience, a new visitor coming to the Lake District, younger, in their cars, wanting that real, genuine experience. We know that 29% of all visitors that visit Cumbria, the Lake District, actually visit new places only. And we really do have that world-class offer. It all does also come down to, and as tourism officers, we are always talking about car parks, toilets, cafes, the T's and we's. And Joe talked about that visitor management. It's about getting those visitors to Allerdale and Copeland and having the right accommodation. We need to really establish a sustainable visitor economy over the next 12 months and make sure that we do have those camping, the self-catering, that real mix you know, to suit all budgets, because we are really going to see an increase in visitors with staycation. We have this fantastic asset. We are absolutely unique with the Lake District coast. And I will have another slide for that, but also our sea to mountains. So looking at coast to fell routes, both for walking, running and cycling, working collaboration, looking at a sea to mountain challenge, forest gyms, that wildlife tourism, that experience. And we know that health and well-being certainly is on everybody's minds. We have fantastic assets within our towns. Staycation and leisure is really important, and early indications are that we will have seen almost a 72% decrease in staying visitors, that reliance on business tourism and that reliance on visiting friends and family as well. So we really need to make sure that we celebrate our towns and build that capacity. And we do that through itineraries. Itineraries and know before you go is becoming so important. People want this information before they visit here. So we are looking at thematic itineraries, cultural heritage, celebrating our food and drink, our quieter hikes. And that first person is so important. It's that recommendation. It's not advertising, it's not marketing, it's coming from real people. And we'll see fantastic developments with things like Normal Nicholson apps. And that digital marketing is going to be so important to that decision-making process. So I would urge all businesses, you know, getting your businesses mapped on Google. So when people are creating these apps, that, you know, you are very much visible. That building capacity can only be done in partnership. It's about that business support. It's working with Cumbria Tourism. It's working with the Lake District National Park, Borderlands, making sure that, you know, we're part of the Cumbria Local Enterprise Visitor Economy Group, and really driving things forward for both Allerdale and Copeland. Buy local. This is where we really get the money back into our local economy. And it's absolutely essential. We know that working together as businesses, we want to keep those pubs open in the village. We want to keep that local store open. We want to celebrate those independent retailers and that unique offer. So buying local is very much on our minds. As increasing the market share, at the moment, we only see about 8% of those wonderful visitors that come to the national park. Yet we've got these fantastic open spaces, but we also need to evidence that. We need to make sure that we have our visitor surveys and that we're doing our economic impact so we can report back to you. Thanks. Next slide, please. So what's 21 looking like? It's about that product development. Cycling, we are going to absolutely work in collaboration, and we've got some really exciting new cycle routes coming on board. Same with our outdoor adventure. People are looking for those open spaces. They're looking to get outside, but they want an experience. They want that guidance. Same with arts and culture. We want to celebrate that fantastic culture and heritage that we have, and support our local products and food. And events will be slower and coming back, but we want to celebrate that whole heritage and really create that buzz in our towns. Our towns, we are looking forward to town deals and valley links, making sure that we are gateways to those wide open spaces, and looking at accommodation, making sure that, you know, we are cycle friendly. Does that mean putting a bike rack out, doing a packed lunch, doing that little bit more? But again, it's about partnership, whether it's us as businesses working together as authorities and organizations. Next slide, please. We've heard this morning from Alex, and thank you very much. Want to really thank the team. Janet is on this call today. who heads up our team, we've managed to get over £23 million out to businesses, 4,526 businesses supported. But please, the schemes are still open. If you know of businesses that haven't applied, or you need support, or you just want to have that conversation, please contact us. The business directory going forward, we now have a dedicated shop local coordinator. Jenny is on the call. She's there really to help your businesses directly, whether it's with your offer or supportive marketing. And again, if you'd like your business to be added to our online business directory, please contact Jenny, and you've got her email address there at shoplocal@copeland.gov.uk. We talked about the Lake District coast, and we've got some fantastic activity that is through our Hidden Coast programme and Eric Barker and his steering group. One of the things that has been impacted by COVID-19 was our Run the Edge running and walking challenge event. But we are going ahead in 2021. It will be a virtual event. You will be challenged. It is 70k. You can walk it or you can run it, and you'll have 3 weeks to do that. And as you participate, you will actually get information about the area. You'll get images, you'll get fun facts. So you'll really feel like you are doing it, whether you're doing it in your living room or from your doorstep. So I hope you'll all join me. I wasn't expecting to do 70k. I was hoping for 10, but it's a challenge. But it will be a live event, and hopefully it will really encourage people to do the live event in 2022. We have some fantastic culture and arts program going at the moment called Deep Time. As you know, we are Neolithic to nuclear, and that absolutely celebrates that. And we have our artists commissioned. There will be a website that will support this, so you'll be able to follow the journey of the artists and the installations, and they should be in place summer 2021 right along our coast. Salcroft Tourism Hub and Cafe and Changing Places. It's so important that we are accessible for all. Everybody should be able to experience what we have, and we're looking forward to that work starting in 2021. Cycling and walking infrastructure. It's such an important area for us, and our visitors know no boundaries. And it makes perfect sense that this is where the biggest collaboration will be between Allerdale and Copeland, making sure that we're celebrating it with sportifs, new routes, circular routes, and making sure that we get that information out there. Again, this know before you go. I know that we'll all have favourite little walks from our doorsteps, and that's really important, but linking that coast to Allerdale and Wasdale and the valleys. Western Lake District and Coast Tourism Network. Next slide, please, Lee. This is a network that you can all join. It is for both Allerdale and Copeland. We do have a website, westernlakedistrict.com. We've had a light touch redesign. We've already got new members, and this is a real asset for you. This is where we post blogs, articles, itineraries. This is all assets that you can take and download and put on your own websites. A big thing about getting ready for reopening, we need to make sure that we've got that information out there. Next slide, please, Lee. We have a full image library through the Hidden Coast programme. We've had some amazing photography done, and also a video which we will be playing for you. You have access to this image library. Please contact Darren. It's hosted by Cumbria Tourism. And again, it's about celebrating and really promoting on your own websites. If you can, we'd love you to credit our photographer, but that is a real asset for you to enjoy. We have been very fortunate that we have had quite a bit of press coverage even through lockdown. And this is very much ongoing. It's about getting the message out there that, you know, we have this wonderful world-class lakes and mountains and coast. And we'll just show you a few. Escape to the Coast, if we just move on. Lake District. Will you really find peace in the national park? I love that, which you will. We've got some fantastic places that you can really go and explore and make your own. Thank you, Lee. We also have social media channels. They have grown. We've now got 6,500 combined target audience, eye-catching images. Again, I'd really encourage you all to share, like, post. We can also promote any of your virtual events, any of your businesses, and celebrate those noteworthy dates like Normal Nicholson's birthday, and things like Bed and Breakfast Week, all those great things that we do really, really well. Thank you, Lee. Current activity, again, both Joe and I have said, this itinerary building, making sure people know before you go. Wet days and rest days, you know, it's about product development as well. People need things to do on a wet day. If you're a walker or a cycler, you're going to have a rest day. You really want to find that fantastic cafe where you can get that best cream tea, or that wonderful indoor attraction, whether it's a museum like the Beacon or something more active. And it's a great way of us actually keeping those media contacts warm, which is really important when we reopen. So what's next? We want a real push to actually get you as partners and businesses to work with us through Western Lake District Coast Tourism Group. We have an ongoing PR push. We will be looking at running competitions to grow social media audience. And again, celebrating community and things like our Residents Week. We're also running virtual meetings, which you are all more than welcome to attend. And again, having great presentations and speakers to inspire and encourage you. We are also part of the Perfect Place campaign. It's very important that we do rediscover, reflect, recover, and we've just got a few of the designs and slides here to show you how we are reinvigorating and being really proactive as part of that campaign. How to join us? It's really simple. The link's at the bottom. It's free. It's a free membership till 2022. We want to get as many businesses working together as possible in Allerdale and Copeland. And we feel that this is a network that we can all be part of. We have free listings on the website, support, active social media, presence at national tourism shows as well, and liaising and kindred spirits. It's all about being together at the moment and sharing those concerns and celebrating those small wins as well. Thank you, Lee. So the opportunities, again, Jill, I'm sure Jill will speak about this. It's the attract and disperse. It's making sure that we get visitors coming to Allerdale and Copeland. We know that we've got a fantastic world-class offer, but it's actually about getting that message out there, converting that day visit to a staying visit, growing our market share, making sure that we've got the right experiential, the food and drink, making sure that offer is world-class and all season. At the moment, we have got the most terrific dark skies, and you just need to look up, and that's something that a lot of parts of the country don't have. It's quite unique to us. And making sure that we strategically position ourselves as well, that we, you know, are active within funding with our town deals, our borderlands and tourism action zone. But it's that warmth of welcome that our host communities give, and you as tourism and hospitality businesses. It's that real genuine experience that creates memories that we all treasure. And it's about that new visitor telling friends and colleagues and families, and making sure that, you know, we're going to see a big generational push. Those grandparents that haven't seen their grandchildren, those bigger family groups, people are going to really want that big experience that everyone can enjoy. And it's those loyal visitors to the Lake District as well, exploring those new areas and returning year after year. But that warmth of welcome comes from you. Thank you very much. I'm sorry it's such a whiz through, but I hope you feel that, you know, we do have this experience economy. We are ready to reboot. We are ready to recover, and very much working together. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Katie. All of those fantastic pictures have just reminded me what a great place we live in. It's so easy to forget when you're stuck indoors, isn't it? There's a huge amount going on there. So I'm going to pass over to Jill now, who's going to talk about what Cumbria Tourism are doing and the kind of the bigger sector development. So Jill, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks very much, and thanks very much for inviting me. I'm listening to all of this, and I think what I feel for Cumbria is a sense of pride, because the joined upness between Katie with Allerdale, Copeland, the LEP, the National Park, and a range of other partners is absolutely evident today. I don't think we've ever been more joined up. And I think what CT brings is we are part of that coordinating body for the county as a whole, and we're able to take that brilliant content that's coming through. I can hear, listening to what Katie and Joe have said, how much that's been built on some of the research that CT's been able to do, and then that they're bringing through your wonderful content that we're able to then amplify times 100, if you like, on a national and international stage when that time comes. So, you know, my starting point is being really reassured that we are coordinated and we are connected. I'm going to start, it's been such an uplifting session today. I'm just going to take the mood down slightly, but only for a moment, and then we're going to bounce back up again. So I thought it would be useful just to momentarily reflect on, you know, really what this has done, this last year has done to us as a visitor economy. As a county, normally in 2019, we would have brought in £3.1 billion to the economy. We're estimating at this stage that loss is 2 billion, possibly slightly more. And clearly that's got an impact in terms of staff job loss and your businesses. We're, you know, third lockdown, we don't yet know when we're going to come out of it. And understandably, business confidence is dire. We've been carrying out what we've called tracker surveys throughout the year, taking various cuts at different points of lockdowns or restrictions. So we've been able to really be very evidential in terms of our correspondence with government, with you know, regional partners. I can see that Trudy's on the call today, which is great. We've got a meeting with Cumbria's MPs next week. So it's thanks to the businesses who've been really patient with us in filling those surveys in time and time again, that we've been able to bring forward real evidence. DCMS in particular have really valued that, and they've told us that that's helped to shape some of their policy. So, you know, everybody has got a part to play in terms of taking that message forward. Lee, if you don't mind, next slide, please. The point that we're at now, clearly, is businesses are, and it's hard to describe, but businesses are in such a concerned state of affairs. Those who have been able to have taken loans, they've got repayments that are due. It's great that bounce back loan repayments have been delayed, but we need to see the same for C bills. those businesses that haven't been able to take out loans might have had some reserves. They're at the end of those reserves now. I know that businesses should now be looking at recruiting for the summer. Do they do that? What do they do with the staff that they've got? Because the furlough's due to end at the end of April, and we don't yet have a clear timescale for opening. So the Prime Minister, we hope the week of the 22nd will be giving us some roadmap, and that's what we need really. We need that sort of clarity, that coordination, and that confidence, both for the visitor and for the businesses. It's been frustrating this week in some of the messaging around domestic holidaying. The reality is that people who couldn't come last year have had to move their bookings already, are already in the system, and people are booking. And as Katie, has alluded to, we're encouraging people to book ahead and to think and to plan. Customers know that if the restrictions change, the businesses will work with them in order to facilitate a change to that booking. So, from my point of view, from Cumbria Tourism's point of view, it is about encouraging people to plan ahead, and we'll continue to do that. Let's move on to the next slide. Let's get upbeat. Okay, so, and you'll hear loads of consistency here in terms of what Katie and Joe have already said, and I think that that's a real positive to take away from today. So CT undertook some research in May, before the end of the first lockdown, to gauge appetite for visiting and what people needed, and it was that helped us to create the Perfect Place to Be campaign. And it was all about people wanting to find open space, to know that they could visit safely, to feel like they needed to mentally and physically recharge, and so and time to reflect and think about what's going on, to come back together, to reconnect with friends and families. So that's really what the campaign was based on. And then in September, we went back out and we surveyed, and we got nearly 4,000 responses, and we said, right, how was that experience for you? Who were you? Where did you come from? What did you do? Why did you come? How, what was your satisfaction rates like? And I think there's some really key things in here for all of us to take away. We're certainly using this to shape our next phase of our campaign, which obviously we're working and sharing with Copeland and Allerdale and the other councils as well. But just take a look at that, and I would say to you, think about these words in terms of some of your marketing. So, talk about landscape and talk about outdoors, physical activity. Just make sure all the time that your messaging is around around safety, but also fun and experiences and comfort, and just people being able to reconnect and enjoy. Katie alluded to some figures earlier on, which came from the 2018 visitor survey. This is last year's. It doesn't necessarily mean that one's better than the other, but I think it just gives you a feel of what last year's visitors were saying. So 13% had visited places they've never been before, and look at that, 59% visited both. Now that's really important, because when we get to attract and disperse, we can get people coming to, yes, well-known places and places that they've been before, but then we can also encourage them to spend longer here and visit new places, stay overnight, spend within the economy. Then that's really important for us. 22% chose different types of accommodation. Again, Katie alluded to the fact that we need to come up with more different offers, and I think that's really important. And I think we all realised and saw what happened in terms of the motorhome and camper home boom. And Gemma, who's on the call, is working to coordinate on behalf of the county, working really close to the National Park, Katie, Joe, and the rest of the districts, a strategy for managing camper home and motorhome activity. What we want to see is that supporting not just the sites that are already available, but we want to see more sites coming on board. We're developing itineraries and Gemma's working on a marketing plan to really encourage the camper and motorhome fraternity to discover new, to stay in beautiful places around the coast and on the Pennine route, around Morecambe Bay, as well as Central Lake District, and pick up many of the attractions there. I'm sure we can talk about that further later on. And look at that for satisfaction. 99% of our new visitors that came last year thought we were a great place. And let me tell you, they're coming again. So you're absolutely right to be planning ahead. Let's move on, Lee, if we can. I think that these are some opportunities here that we've already talked about. I won't duplicate what Katie's and Joe have said already, and even what I've said already, but just play to these strengths is what I'd say. Look at that around bubbles. People are, the confidence is going to have dipped. People are still going to be a little bit nervous and anxious. So, you know, what can you do to showcase experiences and things that people can do within their bubbles? How is your accommodation fit for that? What are the activities that there are around that work with that? You know, if you look at things like one of the slides I've got a little bit later on, just using some of the imagery that demonstrates how people can do that. So there's a nice picture of people picnicking, eating and buying local produce, picnicking on the coast, and the horse riding that you can do, you know, with the heavy horses and other places as well. But that's again just showcasing how people can really safely visit and have an amazing experience and time. Spending patterns are changing as well. Just think about how you can add value to your business so that people are spending with you in a way that suits them. And I think there is a real opportunity here because we've been locked down. The evidence is showing that people not only want to come again, but actually they want to have more frequent visits. And we want to see that extension of the offer throughout the year. So there's a real opportunity there. And as Katie talked about, the CT research has really shown happily that changing profile, seeing many more millennials coming through, lots more in terms of families, significant increase in terms of visitors from the southeast, presumably because they're not going, well, we know because they're not going abroad, they're unlikely to be able to do so or to have the confidence to do so this year. But they do have slightly different expectations in terms of product. We can talk to you more about that, but that's just something for you to be thinking about. Next one, Lee. Okay, look at this. There's so many reasons to be cheerful, and lots of them do duplicate what Katie and Joe have said already. But what you're seeing, what you're hearing today from the teams is about the level of investment that's going into the visitor economy from the public sector, and I know also from the private sector. This is brilliant. This is the product that we can then use and take out to, you know, to the world essentially when the time is right, but certainly to our domestic market at the moment. I'll talk in a moment about Year of the Coast because that's something, Cumbria's Year of the Coast, because that's something for you to take away today. CT's working with Visit England and Welcome to Yorkshire, Peak District in Derbyshire, and other partners on 3 different Discover England projects, all of which benefit and bring value to the West Coast. So we've got walking trails, we've got cycling, and we've also got a Discover England coastal project. All of these are about creating content, taking that content to the national and then international stage, and we're working. There'll also be some business support in there for you so that you can hook into this as well. So we're working on those right now, and we can certainly share more information with you, perhaps through the Western Lakes group, which we support, but in any way format that would be helpful to you. Motorhome routes and provision, as I've already said, CT's leading on that project, and there's some brilliant work that's coming through from Copeland and from Allerdale. Dare I say it, they're leading the way for the county at the moment, but it does need to be a county-wide thing, and it's that coordination that's going to be so valuable. We know that we've had real problems in the last 12 months, understandably, with that downturn in terms of people using public transport. So we're working with operators in order to be able to get that back up and running when the time's right. Dark Skies, CT's been coordinating that project with the National Park and Friends of the Lake District. And again, it's something that the West Coast have really seized. And that arts programme we're really excited about. The attract and disperse strategy is really important. Cumbria Tourism, the LEP, the National Park, the districts have always wanted and worked hard, I think, to really develop that attract and disperse approach, so that we use the internationally renowned attack brand of the Lake District and Hadrian's Wall. We can't get away from it. It's there. It's great. It's golden for us. But how do we use that to get people to then visit and know about and love and immerse themselves in the wider part of the county? COVID has accelerated that need. We cannot, you know, going back into 2021 in summer, we need as a county to make sure that we are managing the visitor experience for the benefit of the communities, the businesses and the visitors. So CT is leading on an attract and disperse strategy which has to have and is having the input and the content from the districts, working with the National Park, with the LEP, with the police as well as part of that. And so that's part of what's called a tactical visitor management plan, but attract and disperse, creating those itineraries, taking those out to the market, showing off the new content is absolutely integral. And we need that to help to the West Coast to recover in terms of its offer. We've commissioned about £10,000 worth of new film and itinerary development, and there's some beautiful stuff that's come through from the West Coast. But additionally, CT have got some showcasing the county, which really captures beautifully the coast, as well as some district videos as well. And Katie was talking about the PR. So CT is commissioned by the Western Lakes to deliver the PR. But we do that in addition to what we already do. And let me tell you, the demand from the journalists for the coast, for areas around the county is absolutely there. They can't come at the moment. We've been doing, in the gaps in between, we have had some really successful visits that Katie showcased, but the demand is there. And Heather, our PR manager, tells me that at the briefings that she's been having with journalists through the Visit Britain events, they're really interested in coast. So let's move forward. At the moment, what we're very much doing is focusing on trying to keep appetite high. The impressions that we've had and the reach that we've had just in January alone is actually, that figure's higher now than the 5 million that's there. And I think that's where CT can really help and bring that amplification. We have got the reach. Our social media following is over 300,000, and it's rising increasingly, weirdly, through these lockdown periods. And I think it's to do with that. Oh, blimey, I just want to be there. Show me some photographs, give me some ideas and inspiration. We had a Christmas shop local, which wasn't just aimed at the local residents, it was aimed at our people who love the Lake District and wider Cumbria. And just in a very short period, that had a reach of 1 million. So we thought, well, come on, let's keep this going. And so we have got that wider shop local microsite. There's loads of downloadable content that our visitors can have. If you look at the screen behind me, we've been sending these out so that our visitors can have these on their Zoom links, on their mobile phones, on their wallpapers, just to try and inspire them. And lots of lovely recipes that are coming through from chefs around the county, all doing really, really well. And it's all about content, isn't it? It's all about you know, creating and inspiring reasons for people to visit. We've got a celebrity endorsement campaign. You can see Helen Skelton there, but there's been loads of celebrity endorsement for the West Coast, which I'll show in just a second. Our holiday guide was around attract and disperse, and a lot of the themes that we've been talking today. I'm really proud to say I think we were first off the press in terms of the holiday guide this year, and clearly we've had to look at different ways of distributing that, because you know, the normal methods aren't there for us at the moment, but that's going down very, very successfully. And we've got an online adventure guide and a dog guide to follow. So we're doing, you know, things are good, things are positive, the signs are right, and this collaboration really puts us in the strongest place. And then there's just a couple of quick slides that I'll show you with Chris Bonington, Sir Chris Bonington there, And this has been part of our Celebrities Love Cumbria campaign, which has had ridiculous reach, and really has been popular in terms of and the celebrities have really been lining up to get behind it. And then I think we've got our very own president, should be Sir Eric Robson, but it is Eric Robson OBE now, who, you know, are people who live and you know, are immersed in this place and only too proud to be able to show it off. Just moving on very briefly towards the end. So the next phase, this is that image that I was telling you about. I think this is a brilliant image, which, you know, really reflects the beauty of the place, the coast, local produce, I hope, is in that picnic basket, social distancing, and a way to have a really, really beautiful, wonderful COVID-safe experience. The campaign, as I've said, is very much research, evidence-led, and it's all about, you know, it's been very targeted to the visitors that we know are interested and have been coming. A real focus on family and friends, as Katie mentioned, and on local as well. You know, I hold my hands up. I think that we've had a really good My Cumbria offer for local residents, which is about rewarding local residents. But I think that we've overlooked local residents as a market. And I think COVID has given us that real opportunity, all of us, to rediscover what's on our doorstep, be really proud of it, and want our friends and family to come and share it with us. I won't go on there because I think I've said quite a bit of that already, but I think just be reassured that we have got the campaign in hand, and we will be delivering that in partnership with our local authorities, National Park and others. Now this is fresh, this is hot off the press, this is for you, and this is launched today. It should have been the Year of the Coast this year nationally, and that has been delayed, we think, till 2023. But you know what, we're not having that. We're going to have a Cumbria Year of the Coast. We've got so much to share, and this is part of the attract and disperse strategy that we've got, and it will be part of our overall campaign. So if you look at our holiday guide, you'll see this very much flagged up. Now later on this morning, just give me an hour or so, go to that link. Joe, if you would be prepared to share that after the meeting, that would be amazing. Go to that link, and what you will find on there is a whole range of assets for you to use. So and so you can see that logo's there. There's loads of different variations of it. Use it in your marketing materials on your website. There's a set of images there that you can use. We've developed a range of itineraries, lots of really quirky, different did you know fun facts that are there as well, and there'll be video as well. And that's all available on the hub. But what we also need is from you is, you know, your content, your ideas, your information, so that we can keep this flowing and going. We need you to really get a hold of this. We will share this as wide as we can. I know that the authorities will do the same, but let's all get behind it. There's a couple of hashtags there for you to be able to use. And the more we do that, the more we amplify. Next slide, if you don't mind, please. This is my final slide, and it just goes back to really what I think Joe said at the end of his, and Katie. And I know that Steve Ratcliffe from the park and Kerry are on the call as well. We're really working together. We want to make sure that our visitors, our communities, and our businesses all benefit from tourism in a sustainable way this year. A lot of what you've heard about already around attract and disperse, even the Year of the Coast, have fallen out of this collective approach. So we've got a tactical visitor management group, and we've got the LEP, Cumbria LEP Visitor Economy Group. We're all part of that. We're all part of the same approach. We're evidence-led in terms of what we're doing, and we're operational and tactical on the ground. And that's where the district councils are doing a brilliant job. I'm going to leave it there. I'm happy to take any questions either now or after the meeting, but I shall just leave it there.
Thanks, Jill. We'll do questions, a quick session after our final speaker. Just a couple of points in that I will be sharing all of the presentations and this recording on the Visit Allerdale website after. We'll put a link on the Copeland website as well. It's great to see so many positives there. It's been a long time, it feels like, and I can honestly say that since I've been imposed, there hasn't been this level of focus on attract and disperse and getting people out to those less well visited areas. So that's really good to see. Right, and just picking up on that theme of visitor management is where we are with our last speaker, our planning manager, Simon Sharp. So like I've said, Copeland and Allerdale and CT are all part of a visitor management group. And one of the things, as Jill said, is we are looking to develop sites for camper vans and motorhomes, which is why we've asked Simon today just to run through kind of some of the permitted development rights and planning considerations for those businesses looking to expand or develop a site. And it's great to see Keswick, is it Rainbow Camper Vans on the call saying, you know, the demand is going to be through the roof this summer. So the camper vans are going to come whether we like it or not. So we need to be ready. And at that point, I'm going to hand over to Simon, who's going to talk us through his presentation. Are you there, Simon?
I am. Thank you, Joe.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe. Good morning, everybody. Just an apology, first of all, that if I might do a Michael Gove and have a cat walk across my keyboard at any second. So apologies in advance if that happens. Yeah, I'll also note that I think Nick Hayhurst, my equivalent at Copeland as well. So you have the planning input from both. Next slide, please, Lee. So just a bit of legal background. I hopefully won't bore everyone to tears, but it is important because we obviously realise the huge demands for motorhome and camper van space in West Cumbria. So the definition of motorhomes and camper vans, they fall within planning law, the definition of a touring caravan. So that's really important when we think about planning for sites and where motorhomes and camper vans can pitch up for a night. So as you see there, it's been enshrined in law since 1983. So when we're thinking and planning for sites, motorhomes, camper vans, touring caravans, all the same thing in planning and licensing. Next slide, please. So there are occasions when sites for motorhomes, camper vans, touring caravans don't actually require an application for planning permission or indeed a license. And vast majority of the cases, that's where there is an exempted organisation, and I'll come on to exempted organisations in a second, involved and either running the site or actually having approved the site. So there are what's called permitted development rights. So those rights basically grant a deemed planning permission for certain sites for camper vans, motorhomes, touring caravans, as well as tents. Next slide, please. So exempted organisations, there's a link there, and I believe the links are going to be shared and the presentation is going to be shared. I can see Joe nodding. So there's dozens of organisations. There's people like the Camping and Caravan Club, but noticeably a lot of the motorhome and camper van manufacturers and converters have their own owners clubs, or rather there are owners clubs for those manufacturers, and they are, I was looking at the list yesterday evening, most of them, if not all of them, are exempt organisations, and there are also a lot of local and regional clubs, motorhome clubs, camper van clubs that are also included within the exempted organisations. If you click on the link, some of them actually have quite bizarre names, but they're all there. I think there's probably more than 80 in total. So sites approved by exempted organisations, so that's people on that list. So the rights apply to land and not a building. And what I mean by that is, so the rights don't apply to within buildings, so you can't run an exempted organisation site from inside a large barn, for example. So it's applying to fields, it's applying to other land such as fields. The exempted organisations, this part of the rights, so this is ones that don't require planning permission or a site licence. So no more than 5 motorhomes, camper vans and caravans in total at any one time. It's a small sites, but I'd imagine for people who might have, for example, farms or a B&B or a hotel and want to diversify, as a real useful and meaningful contribution, a toe in the water to motorhome, campervan, touring caravan provision, a five pitch site could be quite useful in doing that, and actually thinking about what the other speakers were saying in terms of having planned sites across West Cumbria and the lakes. That will be a really useful and organised way of providing a number of alternative sites. A 28-day maximum stay, so that's anybody who's pitching up in a motorhome or camper van. Basically, their stay is limited to a 4-week holiday. Before issuing the certificate, an exempted organisation is expected to have consulted neighbours and the relevant local licensing authority, in this instance, Copeland and Allerdale. As there is basically an emphasis there on it being a self-service, so it's not actually the Allerdale or Copeland who are running those consultations. It's actually the exempted organisation. So regularly we will have letters from, for example, the Camping and Caravanning Club notifying us of a new site that they wish to open. So organisations which have issued those certificates are also expected to have systems in place to make sure the terms of the certificate are being observed. So in other words, they are controlled and regulated by those organisations with a light touch by the council. So we don't actually go around in enforcing the regulations of those sites. Next slide, please. So there are certain bits of development that are included within those rights. So, for example, communal facilities such as water supply points and chemical toilet disposal facilities, and also plinths, for example, for motorhomes and caravans to pitch on. I know it's important, for example, for water and things to have a level pitch. So they are included within the rights. And although a separate certificate is required, the site can also accommodate, in addition to the 5 motorhomes, camper vans or touring caravans, the 10 tents as well, as I say, subject to a separate certificate, but also that is included within the permitted development rights. And the whole system is actually administered by Natural England. And you can see there again, there's the links, the email link and the telephone numbers for them. Next slide, please. In addition to those 5 pitch sites, the exempted organisations also have a separate permitted development rights. So they don't need a licence and they don't need planning permission for rally sites. So that's where they have a an organised rally with no maximum numbers. So it could be an owners club, for example. It could be some of they have their national events, for example, and a field or another area is used, and everybody meets up, and there are basically the controls and the limits apply nationally, or rather in England. There may be, and the reason I've put the bullet point of different control in national park is that might not necessarily be the case, but I know that national parks do have ability to provide extra controls under those rights, and I generally don't know the case as to what the situation is inside the national park. Next slide, please. So if you don't fall within those exemptions, so if it's over 5 pitches, then you can make an application to the local planning authority. So in Allerdale, outside of the national park, it will be Allerdale Borough Council, likewise for Copeland, and then inside the national park, the application is made to the National Park Authority and their planning offices in Kendal. So any application would include the change of use of the land. So the use of that land, normally it's agricultural land for the holiday, for the motorhomes, camper vans and touring caravans. If we were granting planning permission for it, we wouldn't actually specify whether it would be for motorhomes or camper vans or touring caravans. It would basically include all of those and tents as well. So there'd be the flexibility to have any of those or a mix of those. And we'd also grant planning permission for what we call operational development. So the access from the highway, the plinths on the pitches, the amenity blocks, shower blocks, chemical disposal points, etc. And the fee for the change of use is £462 at the moment. The operational development, things like shower blocks, etc., it'll be additional fee depending on the size of those blocks, the floor space of those blocks. Next slide, please. So I can only speak for Allerdale planning policy, but our planning policy is very proactive, encouraging these sites to come forward with some caveats that I'll come on to in a second. Planning is very much a plan-led system, so our first port of call is always what we call our development plan. In Allerdale, outside of the national park, it's the Allerdale Local Plan Part 1 2014, Part 2 2020. But really, for the purposes of this morning, there's only one policy really particularly relevant, and that is SA 32 of Part 2. And there's a link to that policy. So it basically supports visitor accommodation, which includes the motorhome, camper van, touring caravan sites, as well as B&Bs, hotels, self-catering, for example, in what we call principal centre, which is Workington, key centres, which are the towns like Wigton, Cockermouth, Maryport, and then the local service centres. And also, and this is probably the important bit for today, and in other locations where it has no significant harmful impact on the countryside or coast in terms of landscape quality, ecological biodiversity value, or the historic environment. Now, we're obviously very well aware as planners that people, when they're touring around in their motorhome or camper van, want to go to the places where there is that landscape quality and that ecological biodiversity, whether it be next to the fells, next to the Lake District itself, or on the coast, actually a lot of Allerdale's coast is the area of outstanding natural beauty along the Solway with the dunes. But that's not to say sites can't be located in that area of outstanding natural beauty. It's just a matter of making sure that that location is right in terms of the landscape sensitivity and ecological sensitivity. Next slide, please. So really, in that regard, what we're looking at is sites that either form part of a farm or land-based rural diversification scheme. So what that means simply in A is where there's a farm and a farm wants to diversify. So there might be a spare field, which is not, and there's no need to say it's surplus to the farm's requirements. All we're looking for is that there is a meaningful and viable farm left after the diversification, and the landowner hasn't just filled up all their fields with touring caravans and motorhomes. So it's a genuine diversification of the farm. It forms part of an extension proposal for an existing hotel or guest house. So that would include motorhome and camper van and touring caravan facilities. So there might be a field or an area next to a hotel or guest house that provides that that potential. And I'd also go that really includes, for example, that there might be somewhere where there are self-catering lodges or self-catering barns, and we would support the extension in principle to such a site with motorhome, campervan, touring caravan sites as well. Forms an extension or a realignment or relocation of existing campervan or caravan site to a less sensitive location. Or there's a scheme to upgrade ancillary facilities in existing holiday park or camping and caravanning site. What I would just urge people to do is, if you've got an idea, we have a formal pre-application service at Allerdale, but even before that is just email us, pick up the phone to know whether your idea is aligned to that policy. We'll always provide that helpful advice and be able to advise you as to whether something's a non-starter or whether it's something that we could support. Next slide, please. So yeah, that's rounded up. I think, as Joe says, questions are going to be towards the end. I know Nick is on the call as well. I can see Nick's face here on my screen. So we've got two planners, and hopefully we won't contradict each other if a question is put to us. I might defer to Nick and rest my voice. Thanks, Joe.
Brilliant. Thank you, Simon. There's a few key points for me there. Is one, it seems you can do quite a lot without planning consent under these certificates from eligible organisations, in terms of, quite a few caravans there with a 28-day stay. Two, and thanks to Simon, I'm sure Copeland would echo this, is that we are here to help. If a business is looking at doing a more formal campsite of any nature, then please, as Simon says, just get in touch and give the planners a ring and talk us through the planning implications of that. In terms of the wider picture, then, as I mentioned, Copeland and Allerdale are part of a tactical management group, and I know we've got Kerry on the call today. So some of the things we're doing is we're going to be promoting a Cumbria coastal route for motorhomes and caravans. We're actually working, this is Allerdale, but hopefully it can be extended, on an interactive map of sites, of appropriate sites. And then I think it has to be kind of both carrot and stick, in terms of we're going to get a lot of camper vans and motorhomes this summer, and we just want to encourage them we want to welcome them, but we want to encourage them to enjoy the area and and shop local, as Katie said, to put money into the local economy. So we're working on some kind of code of conduct where we're talking, you know, just be considerate, park appropriately, and leave money in the local economy. So I think that's it. That's it for the formal presentations. I hope you found everything useful. There's been some great comments on the chat there. So what we'll do now is just a quick, I am conscious of the time, we're slightly over, but there's a few questions on the chat I'll go through, and then I'll throw it open briefly if there are any more questions. So I'm going to start. Alex, are you still there? Alex?
I am,
No.
yes, yep.
Oh, just quick question. We've got, how much is the LRSG grant, was the first question I've got down here on my list.
I think Janet has answered that in the chat for everybody. Oh. So it's there, but it's basically £667 per 14-day period if you're in the 0 to £15,000 rateable value, and then £1,000 per 14-day period if you're in the just over 15 to 51k rateable value, and then 51k and above, it's £1,500 for a 14-day period. But obviously it gets a little bit complicated with us not always being in 14-day periods for that little miniature tier 4 slot that, if everyone recalls, we were in tier 4 for about 5 days before we went back into national restrictions. So it won't always be nice 14-day periods.
Okay, thanks. So I think the key point now is, if you're in the system, am I understand it, you kind of, because this lockdown is continuing to roll on, payments will continue once you've been approved for the first one. Is that right, Alex?
Yes, although Copeland and Allerdale they're doing slightly different things in terms of checks, and you might find you need to just reconfirm you're still trading, that kind of thing, just sort of a light touch confirmation. You need to be aware that one-off extra lockdown payment was a one-off payment, so we haven't got any more funding for that, so that's just a one. But the LRSG closed, if you have a rateable business that is closed, will roll on, so you'll get an additional payment depending on what the Prime Minister announces in terms of timescales on the 22nd.
Okay, great. I'll pick up, Colin, in terms of your other point about emails and the business name being in the email title. I'll take that one back to the various team. Joe Leeds is saying, what about a perfect day competition for children? I think that's a great idea. We did our perfect day itineraries last year for adults, but I really like the idea of finding out what a 12-year-old's perfect day in Cumbria would be. So I think I'll definitely look at that one. Town and parish councils and chambers of trade, are we talking to them? Certainly chambers of trade. I mentioned the kind of local ones that we're establishing in Allerdale. Obviously we're very closely with CT, and in terms of town and parish councils, then that's something I will talk to our members about, how we can link in more there in terms of getting views from the smaller parishes, because absolutely it's a valid point. Visit Allerdale, can we list the cinema listings, Jonathan? Absolutely. On the Visit Allerdale site there is a what's on page. Now there hasn't been a lot on it recently because there hasn't been a lot on, but there is a form. If you have any kind of local event, then you can list that. That's actually linked to CT's events function as well. So anything that you list on Allerdale, if you're an Allerdale event, will be also advertised on CT's website. And I would guess Copeland have something similar. So let's hope we see events coming back soon. That's the questions I've got. I'm sure there have been some more in the chat since then. Is there anyone, I'm going to keep this fairly brief, but are there any burning questions anyone's got before we go?
Joe, I'd just like to, just like to say, yes, we have the events listing on westernlakedistrict.com as well. So please, we'd really encourage you to put your events up there.
Thanks, Katie. Ian, I can see your hand there. Can you fire away? Oh, you're on mute, Ian. You're just on mute. There we go.
There we go. Not much time remaining. So can I just ask if you'll be answering the questions that were submitted prior to the meeting, be answered by mail or otherwise afterwards?
Absolutely. We've got everyone's email addresses who's registered, and we will have a record of your question as well. Apologies, some of those come in quite late, but if you don't hear from us within 7 days, then please come back to me, and I will respond directly.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Ian. Okay. Anybody else before we call it a day? Right, well, I think we'll leave it there then. It is 1:15. Just to say again, thank you for coming. We hope everyone found it useful. This will not be the last joint Copeland and Allerdale briefing. We plan to do these quarterly. So like I say, please check the website. If there are any topics that you particularly would like us to cover, then please let us know. Councillor Cook, you were going to...
Yeah. Can I, after my slight faux pas at the beginning of the meeting, I'd like to thank everybody for joining. I think this is a great format where we can all communicate and get information out to you. So I would like to extend my feelings on saying please join in again later down the line so we can spread the word, basically. So thank you all very much, and the officers that have put this together, and Stephen as well from Copeland for agreeing for this meeting. Thank you.
Excellent. Right, there's some great positives there. Fingers crossed that we can all get back out and about soon and return to something like normality. So thank you all, and please check your newsletters for the next event. So see you again.
Cheers, Joe. Thank you.